The body's barely dead, but the Giannis sweepstakes are underway. Can the Jazz get involved? It's next on Locked on Jazz. Bum 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 bum.
You are Locked on Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. Part of the Locked on Podcast Network. Your team every day.
How are you? I'm David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz, Jazz NBA insider. This is Locked on Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz, giving you insight, expertise, geeky numbers, and hopefully making it way better to be a Jazz fan each and every day. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Everydayers. You are the best. You make this show what it is. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. On today's show, we will late game watch a little bit from that Detroit-New York game last night and the collapse. The collapse by Milwaukee, which we'll lead the show with, about Giannis. I've broken down 6 more players. We've got an elite shooter. I've dug into our NBA draft numbers a little bit more on what kind of the impact of spot up, catch and shoot, and off the dribble when you put them together, and have found some pretty cool findings right there on draft numbers to share with you. Excited about that. This thing's fired me up. It's our numbers draft week here on Locked on Jazz, but we're starting with the Giannis sweepstakes. So the Giannis sweepstakes are underway. The collapse last night, losing in 5, another first-round exit. The Sharks are circling, and Milwaukee can sit here and say they're not going to trade Giannis, but they don't have many options. They have very few assets available to them. They have literally nobody on the roster they can trade. They traded Chris Middleton for Kyle Kuzma, and he's been awful. They have almost no draft picks. They're up on close to the second apron. They literally have, and their second best player, who's making $54 million next year and $59 million the year after, might be done. Probably not playing next year. But in all likelihood, at 36, coming off an Achilles, we have seen the last of the viable Damian Lillard. Their draft picks this year are swapped with New Orleans. Next year goes to Atlanta. Next year after that, swapped with Portland. Next year after that, goes to Portland. Next year after that, swap with Portland. Next year after that, they have their 2031 pick. It's not good. So what's interesting here is for Milwaukee, they not only don't have a route by which to get better with Giannis, they really can't tank because they don't have their own picks. So their only route right now is to trade Giannis for players. But then you look at their roster, they literally don't have any other pieces on their roster. So they're trading Giannis. Kuzma, I can't imagine. Brook Lopez is a free agent. Bobby Portis has a player option at $13 million. He's opting out. Pat Connaughton's opting out. It will relieve some of their burden. Maybe they can get someone to come play with Giannis, but it's ugly. John Horst, who's won a championship there as a GM, has got his hands full. And so the vultures are circling. And the question is, can the Utah Jazz put together enough of a package that they could go get Giannis? And the difficulty for me on this, as much as I would love the answer to be yes, let's just have our fantasy world. We draft Cooper Flagg, we add Giannis, and we're on our way. The rebuild's over. The problem is, what I just outlined is what the Jazz assets are pieces. I don't think the Jazz have the assets to go get Giannis. If you go look at what the Jazz would offer, it would probably, when Lowry becomes available at 42, but otherwise, we don't have a young player right now that would excite them unless Keontae gives them some. You're trading Lowry and Keontae along with draft picks. That's not giving Milwaukee the pieces that they probably want. Houston's going to get really interesting on this. And the Houston inability to have a player late in games, which Giannis isn't actually great at either, could get really interesting here. Houston goes and trades Jalen Green. They're going to want Amen Thompson. Amen Thompson is a mini Giannis coming. I said it yesterday. So maybe it is Amen Thompson. Or maybe it's Amen Thompson and Jabari Smith. And now they're starting to give them 2 or 3 young pieces together. Those are the pieces, the Amen Thompsons, the Jalen Greens, the Jabari Smiths, all top 5 picks, which actually make tanking even more the correct answer here. What about Detroit? Can Detroit get Cade Cunningham and Giannis paired with Jaden Ivey, some of their picks? I actually think Detroit, honestly, is the team that needs Lowry. Lowry would be perfect for them. Size, 3-point shooting, could open it up for him. The other one gets interesting is Miami. It would assume that Giannis wants to go to Miami. And that gets into be Tyler Hero, Jaime Jaquez, and Miami just starts their rebuild with Giannis. But it's going to be hard for the Jazz. I mean, Giannis is the big, you want to go big game hunting. There's only big game hunting bigger than Giannis is Luka. He already moved. But it's going to be hard for the Jazz to fill what Milwaukee needs. What Milwaukee needs here is players. Players that viably can play and have a long-term future to fill in because they don't have their picks, they don't have their pieces. I don't know if you can get Bam Adebayo for Giannis, but it'd be my first phone call. I'll take a 27-year-old Bam Adebayo and start piecing it from there. You can still have Tyler Hero, but I'd like 4 years of Bam Adebayo under contract. They don't really have the young players either. Jaime Jaquez had a fairly mundane year this year. Khalil Ware is at least interesting, but I probably aren't trading both Bam Adebayo and Khalil Ware. Though if you're trading for Giannis Antetokounmpo, as I think we've actually learned of the Donovan Mitchell and the Rudy Gobert trade it all. Because Minnesota's going to get a win out of the Rudy Gobert trade, probably make their second straight Western Conference Finals, and they certainly overpaid. 5 first-round draft picks, etc. Cleveland gave up Lowry, Markkanen, and Colin Sexton, 3 first-round draft picks for Donovan Mitchell. It's certainly a win for Cleveland, too, on that trade. If there's a lesson here on trades, is if you're acquiring a Giannis or a Luka, which LA didn't have to do, or someone not even of that caliber, just a top 20 player. Rudy was a top 20 player. Donovan was a top 20 player when we trade him. Give up the house because it's so hard to find top 20 players. The other rule here, frankly, is the value of high draft picks. A 3 or 4 year losing, 2 or 3 year run of losing gives you the pieces that allows you to have the plays like Houston does to make a play for Giannis. Or that maybe Detroit has to make a play for Giannis. Because those are the pieces that matter. The future draft picks the Jazz have right now to Milwaukee are only interesting if you give them enough players that allows them to be competitive along the way. I don't know how Detroit, with their current setup, gets to enough money, but if you just start to play around with this for a second, and it's hard this time of year to use trade machines because they all change, but you suddenly send Amen Thompson, or Asur Thompson, and Jaden Ivey and Tobias Harris, who I think has 1 year left on his deal, to Milwaukee, along with some future draft picks for Giannis, and maybe you have something. That trade works. Tobias Harris, Asur Thompson, Jaden Ivey, future draft capital, and suddenly the Bucks start to rebuild around Jaden Ivey and Asur Thompson. And Giannis is in Detroit with Cade Cunningham. Ah! But that's what it's going to take. Hard to see the Jazz having the capital to get that done. I've got a shooting star in the NBA draft coming up, and I've got some interesting numbers for you on what makes a great shooter. It's next on Locked On Jazz. Wednesday edition of Locked On Jazz is brought to you by our friends over at Intercap Lending. Brock Worthen is their president. Our own personal loan officer is Steve Carter. It's awesome. This is one of the, if you follow this show, the Murdochs, we actually have an open spot right now for local sponsorship. I have to find the right person. The Murdochs and Steve Carter, Intercap Lending, are our two local sponsors at this point, because that's the relationship I have with them. We've been with them. I'm 100% certain if you go to them, you'll have the greatest treatment you possibly can. I have no doubt on it, and we've committed to be together for a long period of time. And that's what makes Steve Carter so great. I absolutely know if you need a loan right now and you need a loan officer and I send you to Steve Carter, you're going to be treated like a king or a queen or whichever you want. Intercap Lending isn't your average mortgage lender. They're people first. Steve Carter's our own personal loan officer. It means you're not a number. You're a person you walk through. They blend personal touch with technology. The reviews are amazing. It's incredible. If you're looking for a loan right now, email me at dlock09@gmail.com and let me get you hooked up with Steve Carter. dlock09@gmail.com. The underwriting turn times for them are still 24 hours, where most banks are 4 to 7. It just sums up where it starts. dlock09@gmail.com. Today's show is brought to you in part by Car Gurus. New sponsor to Locked On. Shopping for a car can be exciting and it can be exhausting, but between the confusing prices and hidden fees, it can be fabulous. That's why Car Gurus exists for you. They help you cut through the noise and show you the best deals with full confidence. With over 4 million listings, Car Gurus has more new and used cars than any other major online marketplace in the U.S. Hear that again. With over 4 million listings, Car Gurus has more new and used listings than any major online marketplace in the U.S. They verify deals, provide real price analysis, give you the tools, data you need to make the right choice without second guessing yourself. New deal that you need can trust. Car Gurus makes it easier to compare vehicles side by side with unbiased deals. They give you price drop alerts as well, and the in-depth vehicle details give you peace of mind before stepping in line. It's no wonder similar web estimated traffic data shows Car Gurus is the #1 most visited car shopping site. Buy or sell your next car today with Car Gurus at CarGurus.com. Go to CarGurus.com to make sure your big deal is the best deal. That's CarGurus.com. CarGurus.com. Thanks so much for making Locked On Jazz your first listen of the day. We are free and available on all podcasting apps. If you like anything you've heard, please hit us with a 5-star review. Comment section and YouTube is always available to you. We usually throw up nice little fun polls, questions for you in our YouTube posts as well. Have had some good results recently on that. Let's see if we can grab you the latest results on that. The latest poll results we had was when you compare a player to Keontae George, what is most accurate? 43% said Anthony Simons. 34% said Jordan Poole, 12% said Malik Monk, and 11% said Emmanuel Quickly. On how concerned are you about Isaiah Collier's three-point shooting? 56% said somewhat concerned, 26% said very concerned, and 18% said not concerned at all. All right, we've been doing a bunch of this. If you're new this week, this is your first listen of the week, welcome. The last 2 days and all week long, we're doing the draft by the numbers, in which I go look at the NBA draft prospects, have never seen them, can't pronounce their names, don't know a darn thing about them. Literally the first time I'm ever seeing them is on a spreadsheet. I'll go watch them later. And we look at a bunch of numbers. Quickly, for those of you that have been with us all week, this will be repetitive, but stay with me. We break the numbers into 4 different categories. We look at transition and isolation numbers as athleticism. Those players that are in the over the 85th percentile in transition become 20-minute-a-night players 80% of the time. Those that are under 30% only do it 60% of the time. So it's a little interesting. There's not been a single player in this draft whose transition percentile is under 30%. It's kind of interesting. And there are 6 already that are over 85%. Very impressive. This draft is good. We looked at isolation percentage. It's not the greatest indicator. We look at pick and roll handling. It's super interesting. The higher some of the guys are in the high 90s, sometimes fail. But the lower, below 40%, they do struggle as well. We looked at off the bounce dribbling and kind of started to break this down. And here's what I found. If you're bad at spot up shooting and bad at off the bounce, there's 8 of them. It's going to be Jonathan Kuminga, Nazir Little, Precious Achiuwa, Stephen Castle, Matisse Bazulis, Ron Holland, Victor, and Dyson Daniels. Maybe Bazulis is going to turn out to be a good shooter. He was decent this year. Otherwise, pretty tough right there. There's only been 2 players that are good off the dribble, off the bounce, and flip it are a bad effective field goal percentage. Killian Hayes, who didn't make it in the league, and then Bub Carrington. So we'll see on that. Bad off the bounce and bad catch and shoot. So the double bad. Pretty bad. Isaiah Stewart, remember this about whether you can shoot, not whether you can play. Zion Williamson, Scotty Barnes, can't shoot. RJ Hampton out of the league. Jonathan Kuminga, Ron Holland, Jeremy Sohan, Precious Achiuwa, Matisse Thybulle, Stephen Castle, Dyson Daniels, Nazir Little, Matisse Bazulis, and Scoot Henderson. Bad off the bounce, great catch and shoot. This is really interesting. So bad off the bounce, great catch and shoot. Jalen Johnson, Josh Green, Jake LaRavia, Kobe White, Ochai Agbaji, Tyrese Halliburton, Sadiq Bey, Dalton Knecht, Cody Williams. So most of those turn out to be able to shoot. So we'll keep an eye on that as we look at that. We've kind of wanted to zero in a little bit more on the detail of the shooting. The biggest finding we have here is if you are sub 30 percentile in effective field goal percentage shooting, there's been 18 of those players so far, 0 of them have ever become league average shooters. If you're sub 40%, there have been 28 of them, only 2 of them become league average three-point shooters, Cam Reddish and Patrick Williams. And if you're over 90 percentile, 15, nearly 60% of them have become league average. Okay? And 30% have become over 38, which is elite. So, here we go. We ended on Igor Demon, and we start with Jace Richardson, Michigan State, Jason Richardson's kid. First little tiny red flag on him. He's 19.5 years old after freshman year, which means that he was held back and has been a year older than everyone he's ever played. This is always worth catching, honestly, because it just means you're, particularly in a kid who's an NBA player's kid, which means you're physically elite to start, frankly. And then, but your entire, like my son, or let's go with my daughter. She was born in February. When she turned 19 in her freshman year, I think that's right. Yeah. So she turned 19 her freshman year. It's not crazy to be 19 years old your freshman year. It's fine. It's just, if you're 19 and a half, you're beginning to get like you were on the old side. So it's not crazy. If you're 20, it jumps out a little bit. Cooper Flag's 18. We got it. Okay. But let's look at Jace Richardson because this is awesome. 86 percentile in transition. So he crosses into that threshold of good transition numbers, likely to be a 20-minute night player. Not very good in isolation. 95th percentile pick and roll ball handler. In 81 pick and roll plays, the best pick and roll ball handler we've seen. He surpasses Cooper Flag. Again, that is not a number that actually always leads to great success, but it's worth noting. 93rd percentile in spot up shooting. 95th percentile in catch and shoot shooting. Unguarded catch and shoot, 93rd percentile. And off the bounce dribble, 72 percentile. What did we just give you a second ago? Great catch and shoot. And good off the bounce three-point shooting. So if you're good catch and shoot, and you're also a great you are in elite air. Davian Mitchell, Desmond Bain, AJ Griffin, who knows? Rui Hashimura, Chris Duarte, whose numbers screwed everything up because he was 25. Jabari Smith, Ty Jerome, Reed Shepard, Brandon Pajemski, Rob Dillingham. Give me Jace Richardson. Put Jace Richardson in green on my charts. That peaks out on the numbers. 19 and a half, 6'3", 86 percentile in transition, 95th percentile on the pick and roll, so he's good at it. At least you know it's an option. At 6'3", he's got to be. Spot up percentile, 93rd percentile, 121 attempts. There's only one guy in this draft who Knipple, I think, is the only guy who took more at 135 and Jace's 93rd percentile. Knipple is 98th. Jace is a better catch and shoot guy than Knipple. He had 83 attempts. Knipple had 240, which is a crazy number. And off the bounce, Knipple didn't have anything. Jace did at 72%. The only player that's a better off the bounce shooter so far in this draft is Trey Johnson out of Texas. So thumbs up on Jace Richardson. Let's look at the kid from Germany who Noa Essengue. Again, never heard of him. 6'10", 18 years old. Transition percentile, 93%. He's a pick and roll roller. If you're trying to get him to be a spot up shooter, he's in the 38th percentile in spot up shooting, 27th percentile in catch and shoot. That gets scary. And he has no off the bounce game. He was 2 of 16 shooting. So this is a big man who's going to roll, but took 113 spot up attempts, but was not a good shooter doing it. He made 30 of 133, 13 catch and shoots in the 27th percentile. He's a bad shooter. That number puts him in a danger zone of whether he'll ever be an average NBA shooter. I'm going to red flag him. I'll stay away. Liam McNelly, UConn, 19 and a half years old, 6'7". Transition percentile, 79th%. Isolation, absolutely no game, 11th percentile. So that's not what he does. Played the pick and roll a decent amount, was in the 64th percentile. Spot up shooting, 6'7". McNelly, that's probably what you want at him. Just 43rd percentile. Borderline, not good. Isaiah Collier, I think, our number is 40 percentile. He's 43. He's right. He's Isaiah Collier last year. If you look at guys in the history of our numbers that are spot up shooters in the 43rd percentile, there, Keon Johnson didn't make the league's 48. Jeremy Sohan is 48. RJ Hampton didn't make the league at 42. Zion at 47, can't shoot. Jarice Walker, we'll see at 42. So that's a dangerous number to be in the 40s there. Josh Giddey was 40% coming in. Tyrese Maxey is our outlier of all numbers and always busts everything. Paulo Banchero, 43%. Jaden McDaniels, 46%. Patrick McDaniel, Isaiah Collier, 43%. So that's a little nerve-wracking for a guy whose game as a non-isolation player, limited pick and roll guy is to shoot. That's a little unnerving. Catch and shoot number was up at 67%. His off the bounce shooting, though, non-existent, 5 of 28, 6% talent jumper for Liam McNally out of UConn. So look at Will Riley out of Illinois. 19, 6'8", not elite transition. First non-elite transition percentile player. He gets red flagged for transition percentile. He moves in he's actually at 35%, not sub 30, so he doesn't get red flagged, but it's not great. Isolation, he's actually pretty good. 90th percentile. Don't see that a lot. 48 isolation attempts, 90th percentile, highest percentile we have here. Pick and roll, ran 115 of them, was average, 52 percentile. Fine. No red flag. Spot up shooting, 49th percentile, just average. Catch and shoot, 48th percentile, but no red flag. Strangely, was really bad on unguarded catch and shoot, was 12 of 41. And his off the bounce dribble is 46%. Nothing to red flag about Will Riley, nothing to jump home about. Seems to be just fairly basic across the board there. All right, we'll do our final two. We'll lottery here. Interesting little note on French players, and we'll look at the collapse by Milwaukee and the close by Detroit next on Locked On Jazz. Locked On Jazz is brought to you in part by our friends over at Wayfair. I mentioned this yesterday on the show. Wayfair hit us with some good timing. We've been working on some various things, and Wayfair has been a fabulous answer with spring here, home project season, your refreshing room, tackling a renovation. Wayfair is the best kept secret of all home improvement. I didn't know about it. My wife did. We're all over it. Small updates, stylish cabinet hardware, major upgrades like new vanities, outdoor lighting. Wayfair has the quality products for every budget. Whether it's some outdoor furniture that we need to spruce up, whether it's something like GE or big-time brands, it's all there for you. Shopping seamless, found exactly what you need to fit your space and your style. It's Wayfair. Makes home improvement easy. Get started now at wayfair.com. That's Wayfair, WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. Today's show is also brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, Locked On NBA, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Game Time is my answer on concert tickets, and I love going to concerts. I love going to see events and festivals and music and events and be around people. It's awesome. So that's where Game Time kicks in for me. You can be a part of it. Last minute ticking. I was talking to a buddy yesterday, used Game Time for the Post Malone Jelly Roll. Got him at the last minute. Got last minute deals, saved up to 60%. Prices on the app go down as tip-off or concert. Let's get closer. That's why I use it. Last minute deal priority, save up to 60%. Buying last minute tickets for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc. The all-in pricing means no surprise fees at checkout. What you see is what you get. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app. Create an account. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. That's LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem Locked On NBA for $20 off your first purchase. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Time to lottery. Had quite the week of our lottery simulations. We won the first pick and we got the fifth pick. You know, our chances are we're getting the fifth pick, right? The chances are that we step into this and we go into the draft day. We have a 48% chance of being the fifth pick. It is the highest possibility of all things. All right, here we go. Let's simulate it. We want San Antonio, Atlanta, Chicago early. The 14th pick. San Antonio, perfect. We want Atlanta for the 13th. Perfect. Chicago's the 12th. Perfect. Dallas should be 11. They are. Next should be Portland at 10. It is. 9 should be Houston from Phoenix. It is. San Antonio, 8th. Yes. Toronto should be 7. Yes, we've got a chance. Brooklyn should be 6. 76ers are 6. Brooklyn's in the top 4. This should be New Orleans. It is. Now we don't know. Charlotte goes 4. Utah Jazz go 3 in the lottery. Brooklyn goes 2, and the winner of the lottery is the Washington Wizards, who get Cooper Flagg. Brooklyn takes Dylan Harper, and the Jazz have a choice at number 3. Is it Ace Bailey? Is it Trey Johnson? Is it VJ Edgecombe? What do the Jazz do with the 3rd pick of the NBA draft? Oh, the lottery leaves us with the 3rd pick today. All right, 1, 3, 5 so far this week. Joe Behringer out of the Adriatic League is a 6'11", 18-year-old. Transition percentile is in the 90th percentile. He's just a big that rolls. He has no shooting game, nothing else. He's just an old school big. He's 6'10", 6'11". Here's an interesting one. Nolan Traore out of France. I don't know. 18.5, 6'5". Transition percentile is fine. 66 percentile. No isolation game. 15 attempts, 17th percentile. 52 attempts. Okay. Pick and roll ball handler. He ran 283 pick and rolls at 6'5". The closest is Kasparis at Illinois, ran 203. And Jace Richardson, and Igor ran 192 at BYU. 283 is a ton. 57th percentile. Spot up shooting is in the 20th percentile. So he falls. He's one of 3 players so far in this draft. Colin Murray Boyles, Igor Denman, and Nolan Traore out of France falls into the death spot up. Now, here's what's interesting. His catch and shoot is in the 74th percentile, and his spot up's in the 20th percentile. So I went back to look and see if that's ever happened. It's happened to 4 players before. This is super interesting. Tejan Salon, Victor Wembanyama were 2 of them. They both play in France. I wonder if there's something in the French league and how they count catch and shoot and spot up that leads to this. I don't know if Salon can shoot. We're going to have to watch. But it's worth noting that the spot up number that sends the red flag is also coupled with a 74% catch and shoot number, which is weird, which leads me to believe there's something funky in the numbers there. So I'm not sure I'm red flagging him for that, because I think there's something to how the French count something in that league. His off the dribble percentage is in the 32nd percentile. So that's not great. And it'll be interesting to see over time whether Tejan Salon can shoot. And that will probably tell that the youngster who was basically a baby giraffe in Charlotte this year, and he finished the year shooting 28% from 3. So that's a little questionable. And frankly, Victor's numbers are also funky. He's the funniest one, but Victor's still only shooting 34% from 3 in his career. So that's interesting. Late game watch last night. I mean, the collapse by Milwaukee is colossal. They're up 118-111 with 40 seconds left. Nemard comes down, gets a 3 because Victor plays drop on a pick in transition when all you can do is not give up a 3. Not a very good play. They inbound the ball to Trent. He freezes, gets double teamed, and throws it away to AJ Green. What I don't understand about Milwaukee, one is they have Giannis on the floor, which they probably have to do because Giannis would get pissed otherwise. But he's a bad free throw shooter, so they have to keep him away from the ball. And then AJ Green's a great free throw shooter, but he's inbounding. Giannis would really be who you want to have inbound, but after watching Giannis inbound the 2 balls underneath the basket, Giannis may be a really bad inbounder. So Doc might have been really hamstrung in what this team was capable of doing late in games here. But having AJ Green inbound makes no sense to me at all. 1, he's small, and 2, he's your best free throw shooter. And then if you're going to have him inbound, have somebody else inbound because he's a not good defensive player, and he gets exposed by Halliburton on the other side. And then they inbound it the next time. Milwaukee has to use 2 timeouts, 1 on each time to get the ball inbounds from underneath basket. They have no concept of what they were trying to do there. And then AJ Green gets it and panic passes to Gary Trent Jr., who drops it out of bounds. And it makes 2 colossal mistakes. But AJ Green's their best free throw shooter. Why wouldn't he be willing to get fouled? And then we've seen the Halliburton drive over Giannis. And then Halliburton's dad being an idiot. Which, to Tyrese's credit, he called his dad out. I thought that was kind of great. The Detroit-New York finish is interesting because I've been talking about this all week long. Cade Cunningham is just not good at isolation. He's a terrific player. He is not a good isolation player. And they keep insisting on playing him isolation late. They moved out of it a tiny bit late in the game trying a little bit more pick and roll game off. But the fact of the matter is, the reason they win this game is because Jalen Duren gets 2 dunk follows off misses by Cade Cunningham in isolation. And that's really what happened here. Is if you go in the final minutes of the game, Cade Cunningham misses in a 95-95 tie with 3:08 left, and Duren follows it to make it 97-95. Cade Cunningham misses on a driving layup with 2:32 left, and Jalen Duren dunks to make it 99-95. Cade does hit an 8-foot jumper with about 2 minutes left to make it 101-95. So he goes 1 for 3. And then New York can't make a shot, or they don't make the shots they need to. Cade Cunningham finds Amon Thompson on a layup to clinch it with 27 seconds left on a beautiful play. So, I mean, New York may be forcing Cunningham to shoot on those and not leaving guys as part of it too. So that series is now 3-2. Interesting if it goes to game 7. Denver taking commanding lead, now a 3-2 commanding lead over the Clippers, heading to LA. Pretty interesting. After seeming dead. I mean, dead. That was a great game last night. Both teams shot incredibly. The shooting by Denver was out of this world yesterday on that one. All right, that is Locked on Jazz today. Thanks so much for tuning in. Appreciate your time. We'll be back with you tomorrow. We'll look at some more players. Might talk about Memphis because they're literally living our life that we've already had once before. It's next tomorrow on Locked On Jazz. Follow me at DLock09 on socials. Please thumbs up for 5 stars on the show. We now send you to the first ever national 24/7 NBA channel, Locked On NBA on YouTube, or check out Game Night every night on Locked On NBA.